Welcome to the I Am Vinyl podcast. I'm Pete LaRussa, and this is...
Joey. Hello, everybody. Hello, Pete.
Hello, Joey, and Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to everybody. We have a new year, 2021, and a new start for the I Am Vinyl podcast. We're going to give this Zoom interaction a try, as opposed to me basically doing solo commentary and basically being an audio book to everybody, the way the episodes have been the last couple of years. So we're going to go a new route and try this out, bring Joey in and some more friends of ours, friends from the I Am Vinyl Facebook page, as well as just our friends in general. So without any further ado, we are here today to talk about Black Friday Record Store Day 2020. We are a little late, but such is life when things happen that have to prevent you from putting these shows together. But here we are. And so let's get started.
What we got to do right here is go back. How far back? Way back.
A little way back. So we are going back to November 27, 2020, which was Black Friday Record Store Day. And Joey and I are going to discuss our picks and, what we think of them, the pros, the cons, should you look out for them beyond Record Store Day at this point? So
yeah, because there's some out there. There's still some out there for sure.
Yeah.
So
particularly the first one we're going to talk about. So without any further ado, let me go into my pile here and pull out record number 1. So here it is, Alice in Chains SAP EP. And the original release date for this was February 4th, 1992. And this was limited to 8,500 copies. The original EP peaked at number 134 on the Billboard Top 200 Albums chart. And I'm thinking that was in 1994 when it picked up some more steam thanks to Got Me Wrong, which picked up some more popularity a few years later.
yeah, because of Clerks. Yeah.
Yes, certified gold with over 500,000 copies sold. Also, this was pressed by We Are Vinyl, and it's a one-sided reissue, and it has an etched side B. So before I get into my thoughts, I want to get into your thoughts about the Alice in Chains SAP EP, Joey.
Yeah, I remember when this came out, on CD, and that probably another reason why I probably failed on the charts initially is I remember it was always, just kind of buried away in like the CD single section.
Yep.
And it was never like stored with the proper releases. So I remember that happening, at least in the stores that I would go to. So there was that. And yeah, there wasn't a presence on radio. They didn't do a video for it. This was one of their just like, you knew they were a little bit different because they were just like, hey, let's just put this out, for like our hardcore fans so we can put that second album out, or while they're waiting for the second album. And so, yeah, no hype, no nothing. So I can understand why it didn't do great on the charts, but it's one of those heralded releases now because now, like, there's so little output, with Alice in Chains and Lane Staley, that era, that, any kind of little release is going to get the full attention from now on. And it even started then, like post Dirt, when they really blew up. So yeah, you're probably right about that peaking way after the fact, like 2 years or so after it was released. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I was just glad, I don't have a ton to say about the actual vinyl release. I mean, I enjoyed listening to it. It's a pretty good pressing. I was very, very happy for the official inclusion of Love Song finally.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, for the first time, it was included on the lyric sleeve. And I think it was on the center ring label on the Music on Vinyl double release of Jar of Flies and SAP, but it wasn't actually on the lyric sleeve. So
okay.
Yeah,
because I don't have that, so I was curious. I was about to ask you that question. So.
Right. Yeah, I do have that. So if you want, I'll go into my thoughts about the record now.
Sure.
Okay, so I pretty much had the same experience as you. When I picked up the original CD, which I still own, it was in a little box of CD singles and, random EPs at Record Factory on top of this glass shelf that housed like a bunch of cassettes. So I was even lucky to find it when it first came out. And I think it was only like $5.99. And I picked it up and I had no idea it was acoustic EP. I had no idea it was even being released. It was literally like one of those surprises. If it's the only thing I can think of, really. It was one of those surprises that I was like, oh shit, this is out. So I do remember first listening to it and, you know, realizing after a couple of songs that, oh, okay, this must be an acoustic EP. So, yep, there's Joey's copy right there. And so I liked it initially. I liked it from the start. I thought it was great from the start. I thought it was nice that they were doing something different from what we had just heard from them with the We Die Young EP initially, and then Facelift. So, and then Joey's showing the etched side B right there for those viewers.
It's hard for it to really show up.
Yeah.
But...
Yeah, you could tell.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pictures out there, I'm sure, anyway, that are professional. If you want to take a look. Yeah, and I remember here in New York, 1994, and I remember well because I was actually playing in a bar band at the time with my older brother. He asked me to play drums in his band with him and one of my cousins and one of his best friends at the time. And one of the songs we actually played was "Got Me Wrong" because it was all over the radio at that point. This was in like late '94 into '95. So I remember in our radio station here, K-Rock, no longer on the radio waves at this point.
92.3 K-Rock.
K-Rock, yes. For all the Howard Stern fans who used to listen.
Yeah, obviously that's how I know it. So.
Yeah, so they played it a ton. It was on all the time. So that's my recollection. Now, as far as the pressing goes, I am one of the people who didn't luck out so well with the first and second copy, as you know. The first copy had some factory surface scratches on it, and they were unfortunately audible, so you hear them through 3 songs. It basically sounds like this scratchy, distorted noise. So as I told you, offline here, I ended up ordering another copy from Discogs for list price, and then that copy showed up with a split cover, and the lead-in at the very beginning has this big surface marking, and that's not really so much of a scratch. It's more of like a surface. I guess you could almost call it a scratch. It's just not deep enough to actually make the needle skip. But, you hear it as it's leading into Brother. So not too thrilled with that copy either. So I have to say, just from my perspective, and I've heard like a lot of people have received copies that were warped and other issues. So I'm a little iffy on it. When there's no problems, as far as the surface scratches or anything like that, it sounds really, really good. But in this case, I got to say that Music on Vinyl is the better pressing just at the moment. I mean,
Music on Vinyl is pretty much a mark of excellence at this point. You can't go wrong with them. I've been super happy with any reissue I've gotten with Music on Vinyl. Matter of fact, it's kind of proven to be like, if I'm on the fence about getting something, if I know it's an MOV print, I'm just like, yeah, I'm going to get that. Like, no contest. They do good stuff. You could tell they're using the original tape, to press it and all that kind of stuff. They're quality. So they're almost like on par with like a Rhino or anything like at this point, as far as like a name that I trust.
Yeah.
So
I fully agree. You know my feelings on Music on Vinyl. I pick up as many of them as I possibly can afford and fit in the collection back here. So I guess I have a little bit of a bias with the Music on Vinyl, but really I was very disappointed. And I think, We Are Vinyl, sometimes they press really excellent vinyl, but then you get stuff like this and you're just like, what happened here? Because I notice, with some other purchases that I've made and had to return and get replacements from Amazon, what's the common thing? They're We Are Vinyl, or they're Columbia Records or Sony, a Sony product. So I think something has fallen a little short with some of these pressings lately when it comes to Sony, We Are Vinyl, Columbia. I've had a lot of replacement issues. So yeah, this is one of them. So I would say this pressing is, it's fair. It's decent for the money, for the asking price, but if you get one of these copies like I got, you may be a little disappointed. So invest in the Music on Vinyl Jar of Flies and Sap double 180 gram vinyl set for sure. It's definitely worth the over $30 that you'd be asked to pay for it. So
sure, yeah.
And that's.
I look forward to the Sap reissue on the next record store day, I'm sure. So they could sell it on its own, milk it a little bit, Well,
yeah. I have a feeling I'm not sure this would happen, but something tells me they're probably going to reissue this again. It's probably not going to be the first time. There'll probably be another reissue outside of Record Store Day, and maybe then they'll improve upon, you know, what's happened here. I certainly sent in my feedback to We Are Vinyl. They have a little feedback website that you could send in comments. So, you know,
Okay.
I would say to anybody else that had the issues, you know, send them some comments. You know, maybe they'll correct the issues and throw a new copy your way at some point. It's known to happen if those of you have had to do it with Universal Music. Anyway.
Yeah. I wonder if they have different divisions of like Sony related vinyl people. Like Legacy seems to be pretty much with it. I've noticed the things that have already been on Legacy have better, you know, seem to have better pressings. I could just be nitpicking here, but you know, nothing wrong with the AC/DC ones or the Judas Priest ones. Those come to mind. So
Yeah, you're right. The Judas Priest ones, the only issues with the Judas Priest We Are Vinyl reissues were, I think the inner sleeves were a little too small for the vinyl, because most of them I got had seam splits, and it wasn't even worth sending them back after a while, because you're just going to keep getting copies with the same issues. Just,
yeah,
you know,
exactly.
But the vinyl itself, they do sound great. Although, again, it's the same issues. I was actually listening to some of the Priest reissues recently again. And again, there's some little factory surface marks. You know, you hear like little scratching noises here and there. So again, it just, you know, just to what I said before, I think it's just something, you know, in their pressing plant, maybe that just gets missed. But, you know, if it doesn't happen all too often, thankfully, it's just a few of pressings here and there. If you want to move on, we can go on to number 2. Okay, so I'll go to my number 2 here. It's a band we definitely share an appreciation for. We have a shared appreciation for. And it's Anthrax, Soldiers of Metal. Sorry for the glare. I'm trying to get it here.
Yeah, if I could quote the band we referenced on the last segment, I'm a little bitter about this one. And yeah, can I get into this? Because
go right ahead. Go, you go first.
Yeah, so I I look at the track list on this thing, I'm like, okay, and I ask the obvious question, is this a Neil on vocals record, or is this a Joey on vocals record? Because obviously when Joey joined the band, they did a couple of re-records, live tracks, you know, like, you know, songs that were done with Neil before. And this looked like it was going to be a Neil thing. I asked a couple of people, including you, and I looked online, and everything was leaning towards this is a Neil Turbin lead vocal release. So I didn't get it. I balked on it. And, you know, because I'm probably a decent completist, but not a hardcore completist. I'm definitely a CD completist for Anthrax, but not so much vinyl. But I consider myself to be a big fan, but I just don't like the Neil record. I do not like Fistful of Metal. Some of the songs are there, but yeah, it's a production thing, but it's also a Neil thing. Not a fan of his singing, honestly. So I didn't get it. I figured it was going to be a waste of money for me because I wouldn't listen to it. Right? I'd listened to it once and I put it away, and that's not the way you should buy records. It should be something you'd want to approach multiple times. So yeah, I didn't get it, and guess what happened? Pete, take it away.
Yeah, it seems we all got a little duped here, because I told you, oh, it's a reissue of the initial single EP with Neil Turbin. But as soon as I opened mine and I looked at the back of the cover, I said, wait a minute. Fistful of Metal Live was recorded at I'm probably going to, you know, maul this, the Zeck Bochum nightclub in Bochum, Germany.
Good day, mate.
On May 12th, 1986. So I'm like, 1986.
Yeah.
Yeah. Neil's
all I had to do was look at the back of the thing. I had it in my hands. I didn't even read the back of it.
I'm actually, yeah, that's another thing. You know, I guess it was easy to miss. But so, you know, I put it on, and, you know, before we get into the details as to what's on the vinyl again, it's a black in orange vinyl, and it plays at 45 RPM. And yeah, so as I was saying, the original release date was in 1983, and this is limited to 1,000 copies. Now, as I said, this is a live performance from 1986. So I put the record on, and as I'm sending you messages on Facebook Messenger, I'm saying, well, this is the concert that was featured in one of the clips on the Persistence of Video home video. when they put Metal Thrashing Mad in that home video. It's on this EP. So you look on the Record Store Day site. I went to look again because I wanted to make sure I wasn't going crazy. So I went to the Record Store Day site, and there it was, still in there. It says reissue of the 1983 EP. What the hell gives, Anthrax?
Yeah.
Why couldn't you just be upfront with this one, or did Record Store Day just, botch this completely? History tells you that, the way Anthrax has treated some of the former band members, that they just simply didn't want to, put out anything with Neil on it.
Sure. I back that decision, but yeah, it was the Record Store Day site that really gave me the final decision of not getting it. And so due to that misrepresentation, didn't get it. You got it.
I did.
You're insane, but I did not. And this is the one time that I do not feel justified in my method of thinking. So, out.
And I assume you haven't looked to see on the secondary if it's even anything reasonable out there?
Nothing reasonable. I've looked, but there ain't anything reasonable at this point. Yeah, it probably was the first week, but now we're into a month and change, 2 months. And yeah, it's double to triple what it was asking for at the time. So no, can't do it.
Well,
c'est la vie.
I hope at some point, a copy happens to float along your way somehow. Maybe something will happen. You'll get a copy of Good Records. That would be pretty damn good.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
I just realized, as we're moving on here, before we move on to the next record, we should cue up some songs. So what do you say we play from Alice in Chains' Sap? What do you think we should play?
Let's go with Brother.
Brother?
Yeah.
Brother!
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll play Brother from Alice in Chains' Sap, and we're going to follow it with something from this Anthrax Soldiers of Metal, not the 1983 version, but the new 1986 live in Bochum, Germany.
Yeah, Gesundheit. And also, that's going to be your pick since you've actually heard it.
Okay. Well, I think we're going to play the track that I mentioned before. Let's play the track that was featured on Persistence of Video for those that are familiar with it and have seen it, maybe have revisited it in more recent times. So let's play Brother by Alice in Chains from Sap, followed by Metal Thrashing Mad from Anthrax, Soldiers of Metal. All right, we're back here, and it's time to go for record number 3. So let me go into my pile here, and the next one up, the Beatsy Boys!
BASTIA.
That's right. So we have Some Old Bullshit, and I believe, is this the first time this was issued on vinyl? I'm not sure. I'm a little easy.
I don't know, because they may have done a special Grand Royal issue.
Yeah.
Whenever because they put a lot of vinyl out on Grand Royal. I got to give them credit. So it's possible. I know that they pressed Sounds of Science on vinyl when it first came out through Grand Royal. So I wish I'd have gotten that.
Yeah.
I know people that actually have that. But anyway, back to Some Old Bullshit.
It doesn't say anything on the label. A lot of times the hype label will say first time on vinyl, but this doesn't say anything. So Some Old Bullshit was originally released on February 8th, 1994. I still have my original CD. And this is limited to 8,000 copies, and it's on 180-gram white vinyl. And this actually peaked at number 46 on the Billboard Top 200 Albums chart when it was originally released.
Yeah, that shows you how hot they were at the time. They could put this out, and I'm sure it pissed a lot of people off too. A lot of Fairweather fans that didn't know who they were.
I really wonder. When I first got Check Your Head, and I heard the hardcore stuff on there, I got to be honest, I really wasn't aware of their original origins being in the hardcore scene, and so I was pretty blown away when I heard the stuff on Check Your Head. So when this was announced that it was coming out, I was pretty excited to hear all the older stuff. Obviously the recordings on here are very rough, but it's hardcore, so you get what you paid for. And it's a fun record. I really, I've never had any issues with it. It's not one that I go to a lot when it comes to the Beastie Boys, but it's fun. The stuff on here, their earliest beginnings. How could you not smile and laugh when you hear Cookie Puss?
Yeah, I mean, like I actually was familiar with the Cookie Puss, single or EP or whatever you want to call it. I mean, this is an EP in itself,
Right.
basically as far as time goes, not so much track number, but
Right.
yeah, I had a second generation copy of the Cookie Puss cassette, and it was like I heard that between listening to License to Ill and then Paul's Boutique coming out. So a friend of mine hooked me up with that. So I heard Cookie Puss and Beastie Revolution many times. So I was familiar with that early part going into this EP, and I knew they had played hardcore music. I had never heard any of it until this came out. I'm sure, as most people, because you probably weren't old enough to have experienced any of those rumblings of early hardcore Beastie
Oh,
Boys. You probably know some people that did,
I,
but
yeah.
yeah, like it seems like such a cool thing, and like their female bass player and like that kind of like lost lineup, So yeah.
Yeah, and the vinyl itself, my copy was good. Like I said, I mean the recordings on here are rough, so
Yeah.
you're not expecting pristine audio file quality. You
Yeah,
just
like one's from a radio show, one's basically taken from a cassette copy that someone made of them on a radio show one night. So that's what you're looking at here.
I
So
just love it. Reagan Youth, they were great. Bad Brains, they were great.
yeah, it sounds like Mike D, but I guess it's just the DJ on there. But doesn't he sound like Mike D when he's hyping
Kind of
everything?
does. It kind of does.
Yeah, yeah.
What song would you play from some old bullshit? Would you
Mm.
play A Grade on Mojo, or would you play Cookie Puss? Throw a little fun into the set here.
I'm always down for Cookie Puss. I mean, of course, the uncensored version.
Yes, yes. Okay.
There's no point for that censored version to be on there other than just to fill time. Uh, BC Revolution's too weird, although I love dub reggae. I'm
Yeah,
tempted, but yeah, let's just stick with Cookie Puss, which is, I could just imagine, I always theorize the recording here where it's like the early days of being able to record a phone call.
yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
it's just that. And then the only record they had laying around to scratch on was Steve Martin's Comedy Is Not Pretty, like, or like that's the only record that was in the studio. Yeah.
That's great. That is
I
great.
actually know what bit that is that they scratch on. So yeah, it's where he actually like talks about changing his name back to his birth name. So,
All
because
right.
by the way, since he never get the payoff, I'm going to tell you right here, his real name is Gern Blanston.
Oh, so his name is Gern Blanston.
Yeah.
Right. Right here, an exclusive on the I Am Final podcast.
Yeah, let's do Cookie Puss, man, for sure.
So, well, before we get to the next one,
Well, before we do that, yeah.
I want to go grab something and just say that this needs to be a Record Store Day exclusive or something, or they just need to release the damn thing on vinyl if they haven't already.
Oh, you got Aglio, don't you? Yeah, I knew it. I've got that too.
Yes.
I have the Japanese version with the extra track on it. How about that? How you like me
Nice.
now?
Nice.
Yeah.
I actually I may have that in my digital files, but no, I don't have the physical.
Yeah.
But yes, please, Grand Royal, please.
They should have put it together like
Yeah.
the two Alice in Chains EPs. We should have a pressing of that somewhere.
Good.
I mean, I
Aglio
could see a
Olio.
double gatefold with the two covers on it. That'd be brilliant.
If you want to put on something brand new, it's brand new for you. Put this damn
Mm-hmm.
thing out on vinyl.
Oh
Okay.
yeah.
So let's move on to the next record here. We have record number 4, and I believe this is another one that I solely purchased. And I just had to listen to this again before we started having this conversation. Blue Oyster Cult Live '83, and
Nice.
this is a 2 LP black and blue pressing. It's a very dark black and blue marble pressing. So when you open it, you look at it initially and it looks none more black. But really, if you put it up under a light or anything like that, you could see the black and blue swirl. So it's very, very nice vinyl press here. I have no issues, no complaints about this. And this was pressed by Real Gone Music, who, as you know, have been putting out the great Cheap Trick live albums for the past few years on
Great
Black
job
Friday.
on those. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Is this one of
Well,
those cases where it's like a radio show or a soundboard and they just clean it up really well?
this is limited to 1,500 copies, and it says on the hype label, a legendary bootleg finally available in a legit reissue. So I guess it's the same as the Cheap Trick live records from the past few years. You know, these were long bootlegged in the bootleg circles, and now you have an official release. So, you know, being that I've really gotten into Blue Oyster Cult more in the last few years, I think you probably have been into them a bit longer than I have. But I got into them a little bit late in the game, but nonetheless, I've been picking up some records by them. And yeah, like I said, this is a great live set. If you can manage to find a copy of this and you're a fan, I absolutely give it the highest recommendation to buy. So, you know, I can quickly go down the set list, not with every song, but you hit some of the big hits. You got your Burning for You. You got Don't Fear the Reaper, obviously, on here. You got some cover songs, Born to Be Wild, Roadhouse Blues, and, just a wide range of their stuff up until 83. The track that, when I've listened to this, the few times that I've listened to it already, the track that has stood out to me that I'm going to pick to play on this episode, it's from the first record, and it ends side 2, Cities on Flame with Rock and Roll.
All right.
So, you know what? Let's play those 2 tracks now. Let's play the Beastie Boys, Cookie Puss from Some Old Bullshit, and we'll follow that with Cities on Flame with Rock and Roll from Blue Oyster Cult, live in 83. All right, we are back. That was Cookie Puss by the Beastie Boys from Some Old Bullshit, and Blue Oyster Cult with Cities on Flame with Rock and Roll from Live 83.
Hey, by the way, is Joan Crawford on that record?
It is. It is.
Nice.
Actually, It is on side 3, right after Burning for You.
Shooting Shark?
No, that is not on here. Yeah, Stairway.
That may be a little later. Yeah, okay. But yeah, I love Joan Crawford. I always give it up for that song off of their best album.
You have Stairway to the Stars, Harvester of Eyes, Workshop of the Telescopes, Before the Kiss, A Red Cap. Born to Rock, which was another highlight. That was something from Buck Dharma's solo record, I guess, at the time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think Neil Smith played on that record, I think. Or
that's a really good. That's a really good. I almost went with that track to feature on here, but maybe we'll play that someday on another.
Somebody from the original Alice Cooper group played on that record, just in case somebody wants to trash me for not knowing it. So,
So then you have Hot Rails to Hell, 7 Screaming Dizbusters, Cities on Flame with Rock and Roll, Burning for You, Joan Crawford, Born to Be Wild, Don't Fear the Reaper, and Roadhouse Blues. So that is the set that you would be in for if you choose to buy Blue Oyster Cult Live 83. So now we are going to move on to my next pick, and it's the first of 2 7-inches that I picked this time around for Black Friday. And here it is. You can see there is Chris Cornell, his take on Guns N' Roses' Patience, and it is backed with Nothing Compares to You, which you could say is either by Sinead O'Connor, or you would probably say Prince.
It was written by Prince, so
yeah, it was written by
technically
Prince.
A Prince cover, yeah.
Right.
But actually, it wasn't originally recorded either by either artist.
So who recorded it first?
It was recorded by a band on Paisley Park. I want to say it was Maserati, but God, I should know this offhand, being a big Prince fan. But it's on one of his Paisley Park signings, and he gave it to them. So it's a cover of a cover of a cover, I believe, is how that goes. So
okay. So this is a exclusive white vinyl 7-inch and it's a 45 RPM. And have you heard this at all, or are you still not familiar with his versions on here?
Yeah, no, I've heard both of those songs. Okay. Yeah, they're good. I mean, it's hard to trash Chris Cornell then or now. So because he's mega talented and he puts a lot into his covers. You could tell he's a fan of what he's singing. I feel like he never sang a song that he wasn't committed to the overall thought of what's in the song. So, I give it up for him on that for
Yeah,
sure. So,
yeah,
and Patience was always one of my safeties on the guitar. Every time I picked up I had a really kick-ass, still have it, 12-string acoustic. Patience was definitely one of my go-tos. So,
nice. All right. Yeah, I also liked Chris Cornell's take on both tracks. I thought he did a really good job. So obviously, we're going to play Patience. I think it goes without saying. So we're going to play Patience from the Patience 7-inch by Chris Cornell. So let's move on to the next one here. And it's the first and only of its kind in my pack of records here, and it's a picture disc. Ace Frehley, Space
the
Truck.
Ace Frehley sampler.
Yes, exactly. Yes, the Ace Frehley sampler on picture disc by E1 Entertainment, E1 Heavy. And so this is the Space Truckin' limited edition picture disc. Obviously,
Space Ace Truckin'.
Yes, that's right. I gotta get it right. Space Ace Truckin'. And this is limited. This is limited to 2,100 copies, and as Kiss and Ace Frehley fans are well aware, this ties in to his recently released covers set, Origins Volume 2, which was released back in September of 2020. So I haven't played this picture disc. I typically don't open a lot of my picture discs. They are basically collector's pieces for me most of the time. So if I'm going to play anything, it's probably going to be taken from one of the regular vinyl records that I have. But I mean, let's just talk about your thoughts and my thoughts on the picture disc, the tracks that are included on here, but also let's get into a little bit of Origins Volume 2. So the picture disc itself, for those who aren't aware already, it has his take of Space Truckin' on side A. And then side B, you have Space Invader, the radio edit, which is already included on a Space Invader pressing. I think it's the SPV German pressing that I actually have here, and I'm sure a bunch of other fans have. Mission to Mars, which was on Spaceman. Space Truckin' radio edit, that's a waste. And The Return of Space Bear, which was on the deluxe reissue of Anomaly. And, fun track. But
that's an enticer. That's the one enticer track for sure.
Yeah. Because it was originally an iTunes bonus track for Anomaly, and they've obviously they've released it now on actual physical releases. So I got to say, I've listened to Origins Volume 2 a few more times since its initial release, and I'm in agreement with a lot of Kiss fans. It's the weaker of the two. I got to be that guy, and I got to nitpick a little bit. Ace's vocals, they do get a little tiresome to hear. Now, both you and I can agree, and I think we can agree with a lot of Kiss fans, or I would hope that a lot of Kiss fans would agree with us. Ace Frehley's never been a quote-unquote vocalist. But, we've, I don't want to say tolerated, but, we accept Ace.
Sure, there you go.
For how he sounds. It's getting increasingly more difficult as he releases more records for me. And I've heard other podcasters say this, so I'm not trying to parrot what anyone else is saying, but you can listen with your ears, and you could hear that it's just the auto tune is there, and after a while you just get a little bit tired of it. And I think Ace should go with more guest vocalists and use the strengths of the guys in his band. The worst thing was he had and Matt Starr is a great drummer that he has right now. But I believe his previous drummer was, if I'm not mistaken, was it Anthony Esposito, or am I getting him confused?
No, Scott Coogan.
Thank you. Okay, Scott Coogan.
Yeah.
Scott Coogan, he sang.
Nice guy too, by the way.
Yeah. That's from what I've heard too. I never met him myself, but Origins Volume 1, he sings on a few tracks, and he's a great vocalist, very, very, very good vocalist.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was kind of a shame to lose that presence in his band.
Agreed.
So I think
as good as his band is, and they're legit fans of the music of Kiss, they do it well.
Yeah.
It's a different dynamic now. Like, it's because Richie Scarlett and Scott Coogan were really cool to have in Ace's band. They had that rock and roll thing going on, and not that the new guys don't, but it's a different thing. Like these guys are from, Tennessee, and these other guys are New York guys. Like, so perception, like right there, it's just like, it's way different, and like I said, they can all play, they're all great, and they're doing better than me, that's for sure. But yeah, it's like, you kind of want a little bit, like Ace thing, his whole draw, or a lot of his draw, especially from hardcore fans, is like, he's the dangerous, he's the rock and roll guy, and
Yeah, that a lot.
Richie, guys like Richie Scarlett and Scott Coogan represent that as well, especially Richie.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I just want an original at this point, and I don't mind the covers. Ace has always done covers. That's not news.
Yeah.
But yeah, at this point, like, I want a well-written original album, and I think Space Invader is the overall strongest one
Yeah.
of all of them that he's done on this last run for like a decade and change. So I would just put in an extra word to say, write a good original album, but also use John Ostrowski as much as you can, because that guy can write a tune, and the songs he wrote on Space Invader are the best songs on there. So that's my take on it. E1 has never met a record store day exclusive that they didn't like, or an idea that anybody brought to them. That also being said,
Well,
there goes my endorsement from
yeah,
E1.
well, we joke about it a lot, but got to calm it down on the colored vinyl variants.
Oof.
It's
You
a
think? Just a little bit?
little out of control.
Yeah.
Little out of control. And we're not talking about Peter Criss.
Yeah, I was gonna
Anyway,
say.
so yeah, I gotta agree. But I would say, my favorite Ace record out of this latest run since he's come back, honestly, it's been Anomaly, and it still is Anomaly. I still think that's his best work. The vocals, they still sound very close to the Ace that was doing Trouble Walking.
No,
That
I like Anomaly. Yeah,
yeah,
that's a good, and that's definitely a true follow-up to Trouble Walking. You're absolutely right.
yeah,
But there's always like those like 2 or 3 Turkey tracks on there that's just like, I can't fully endorse any of these records. Like Anomaly has A Little Below the Angels. Space Invader has The Joker. Oh,
where he actually lost the beginning of the drum track, but he used a click track in its place. It was just like, just rebuild the drum track, or just figure out a way to re-record the drums. That's like, I don't know, lazy 101, Ace. Like, you could have made that one a little bit better. Yeah, A Little Below the Angels. I know that's very cringeworthy for a lot of people.
yeah.
But,
It makes Dolls good.
I know a lot of people really like Dolls, and a lot of people like, A Little Below the Angels. I could tolerate it, but I totally understand why people don't like that song. Yeah, I know you weren't a big fan of Spaceman, because I actually wanted to give you like one of my extra copies, and you're like, nah. I don't even want it. I was like, yeah, it's damaged a bit because it got sent here, like it got punted around, but I was like, I'm not going to send it back. You want it for the record? You're like, nah. So, right,
Just next package, just throw it in if there's room.
I actually
You got rid of
I
it?
sold it. I sold it to a record
Good.
shop, and they
Good.
took it and gave me a few bucks for it.
Good.
So,
As long as you got some credit for it, that's what counts. Because
yeah.
I was never going to put that on the turntable. And, yeah.
All right, so we gave Ace a ringing endorsement. So I guess we can move on to
I got some pipe backstage if you want to look at it.
tell me about it. Well, listen, at the end of the day, we're still fans. We still love Kiss, and we still love Ace. But hey, we're gonna be critical when we have to be. All right, Joey. So we got to play some more tunes. So we're gonna play Patience from the Chris Cornell White 7-inch. What should we play to represent the Space Truckin' picture disc? We can go with Space Truckin' if we want to promote Origins Volume 2 a little bit for E1, or we can go with one of the extra tracks that showcases his other releases on this promo sampler.
Yeah, I'm inclined to one of two, and then you choose.
Well, I know what you're going to go with.
Yeah, either the song from Space Invader or the Space Bear song.
I knew it. I fucking knew it. All right, we're going to play The Return of Space Bear.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to do Chris Cornell's tribute to Guns N' Roses, followed by Ace Frehley's tribute to Tom Snyder.
All right, we are back. That was Chris Cornell with his take on Guns N' Roses' Patience from the White Vinyl 7-inch. And that was followed by Ace Frehley with The Return of Space Bear, representing the Space Truckin' picture disc, but taken from the Anomaly Deluxe reissue from a few years back. And so next up is another 7-inch, the only other one that I picked up out of my picks. And it is right here. If you can see right there, Mr. David Gilmour. Yes, I Have Ghosts. And it is the same song on both sides. The B-side has an Andy Jackson mix, and they're both the same length and time. Honestly, I can't tell much of a difference.
I was gonna say, I was gonna ask if you could tell. Not even like the old days where the instrumental's the B-side or something.
Yeah.
You know, that would have been kind of cool.
Yeah, so he just basically recorded this one track and put it out for Black Friday Record Store Day. I don't see anything about any new album that he's working on or this being from anything that he's had in the works. I sent you the digital track from the We Are Vinyl download. Did you get a chance to listen to it?
Yeah, yes, I did.
So
Yeah, it was nice, and you know, you know me, I'm not a big Floyd guy, but you know, I'm gonna give a stock answer here. I respect David. He's a great player. Anybody, I think Paul McCartney even singles him out as one of the great guitar players of all time as well. So yeah, respect. Yeah, not a bad track.
Yeah.
I don't know what to compare it to, so you might have a little more, you know, something to say about that.
I do. So, so if I was going to compare it to something, it's very happens to be right here, which is nice and perfect. But it reminds me of this record that he put out, and it was in 2015, his last full-length studio record, Rattle That Lock.
Yeah. You think this is an outtake then, or like?
No, I think he actually recorded this, more recently. So okay. I don't think it's an outtake or anything, but it does remind me of some of the stuff that's on that record. Yeah. So again, it's a 7-inch. It's 45 RPM. Sounds really great. So obviously, we know what track we're going to play, so you're going to get to hear what it sounds like on vinyl.
Well, which mix are you going to play? The A side or the B side?
I'm definitely going to play the A side because.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to play the A side.
So you do have an opinion.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, I could hardly tell a difference, so I'm just going to go with the A side on that one. But yeah, like I said, it does remind me of some stuff that he did on his last record. It's very soft. But David Gilmour is one of my all-time favorite guitar players. I'd say he's a guitar hero of mine in terms of stuff that I've written, and he's influenced a lot of my guitar playing. I'm not a big solo guy, but David Gilmour, he has like that art where he could take a guitar solo that's, for a guy like me that doesn't want to be like, the angry bee. For a guy like me that doesn't play like that, David Gilmour is a great influence because he could take like a few simple notes and just make them sound incredible. So
yeah, I will say his playing in that style you described, I completely agree. Way more listenable than other heralded guitarists that get the same kind of description put to them, like Clapton. Like, in my opinion, Gilmour blows away Clapton. So
I'm more of a Gilmour fan than Clapton for sure. I think just Gilmour, he just puts so much fucking feel into everything that he does. Especially the guitar solos. I mean, you've seen the performances of Comfortably Numb and the classic Floyd stuff. I mean, he doesn't basically just sit there going, it's just another day in the park, I gotta play all this fucking crap. He puts everything into it. His live concerts are worth purchasing on DVD and the records. So yeah, I have nothing but high praise for David Gilmour here. Although the only thing I do miss, as far as what's on this 7-inch for Yes I Have Ghosts, I do miss the harder, David Gilmour, the hard rock stuff that he would, he would put on the records. On an Island has some moments, where it amps up the guitar a little bit, distorted guitars and heavy distorted guitar solos with his signature delays and reverb and the effects that he uses. Instead now you have him playing acoustic guitar with nylon strings. You get this nice, acoustic guitar solo on nylon strings. Great. But yes, it does make me miss some of the harder era stuff. But, he's obviously getting older and This
Yeah,
is
I mean, this is
something
the
he's still
music
into.
that's in his brain right now because I
Yeah.
mean, he's basically spent the last few decades on a yacht, from what I understand.
Got his
So
own, he named his record on an island. The guy
yeah, yeah,
literally has his own island.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So
Deservedly so.
it's like I don't expect him to mirror either of our T-shirts. Not that he ever did, but yeah, it's like there's no anger in here at all. Like, and I wouldn't expect that if he was doing that, people would trash it because he wouldn't be honest. You know, like there's no way he'd be honest if he was playing something kind of angry and like heavily distorted at this point. Just
Yeah,
I don't see it happening.
like I said, as a fan, I do miss newer music from him in that realm. But
Sure.
also as a fan, and following him for so long, and the fact that he has settled into this more relaxed, lifestyle, I can see why he's gone this route. He doesn't want to turn it up anymore and crank it up and play the guitar on 11. He wants to play it on like 3.
Yeah, exactly. I don't get mad at 70 to 80-year-old billionaires that have been doing this forever going soft. I get angry at 20-year-olds that have the world in front of them and they're already gone soft. So, yeah, that's my critique there about youth culture. So, there you go.
All right. So again, we obviously know we're going to play Yes, I Have Ghosts. So let's move on to my next pick here, and I'm looking forward to this one.
I feel like we're doing the hard and heavy video grab bag every time you go down there.
Oh, nice. All right. I'm with that.
Yeah.
So I think we both definitely
Wow.
bought this one.
Yes,
Masters
for sure.
of Reality, Sunrise on the Suffer Bus, and this was
The second best album that Ginger Baker ever played drums on.
yes. Well, I mean, I don't know. I gotta say, I actually listened to Blind Faith. I listened to Blind Faith again the other day, and man, I mean, not only just for the drum solo that's at the end of the record on "Do What You Like," but I just love that record.
Yeah, I need to listen to that record more. I've only heard it a handful of times in my life,
yeah,
so I'll say like right now it's currently Disraeli and then Masters of Reality as far as my Ginger Baker ranking. So
the details.
I did recently acquire a live album of his, like the Ginger Baker Air Force. Have you ever heard that?
No.
And it's just jammy jazz rock stuff, pretty much instrumental and some blues covers here and there. But it's so funny because now he's in charge of like, as the leader of the band, like he's in charge of talking on the microphone between the songs. And it's so funny because he sounds like Neil from the Young Ones. He's like, all right, we're gonna do this one here. It's called Dada, man.
So fucking thrilled to be here.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've both seen the Ginger Baker documentary movie, right?
Beware of Mr. Baker. Yeah. Yeah.
Just the beginning of that movie. I mean, if you don't watch that movie after the first 5 minutes, I don't know what the hell's wrong with you. But
yeah,
I digress.
It has a hook for sure.
Oh, for sure. So if you haven't seen it, we've given you the hook. So go check it out. And speaking of checking things out, if you haven't heard this record, anyone who's not heard Masters of Reality, definitely check these guys out if you could still find this or any of their first few records. I have to revisit some more of their later stuff, but first 2 records, I'm fully on board. So this one was originally released in 1992, and as I mentioned on my post of this particular Record Store Day edition, I originally purchased this on cassette at a local store called Zigzag that's no longer here. This copy here is limited to 1,800 copies, and on the Hype label it says it's on natural. It's a natural vinyl pressing. Doesn't say clear, doesn't say translucent, it just says natural. So we're gonna go with natural vinyl pressing. And this natural vinyl pressing sounds excellent. I have no issues with it. And revisiting the record again as I have a few times, I love it. I like it a whole lot more than I did when I first bought the cassette in 1992, where I probably didn't get it as much back then. And Joey, thank you for showing us the record here for those watching.
Here's that natural white.
Yeah, there it is. It's fucking natural. So, so like I said, I don't think I was fully ready for this record in 1992, and I was expecting, some more of, what I had heard at the time from the first record, which, I had gotten turned on to from my cousin and us catching the video for the Candy song on Headbangers Ball back in 1988. Speaking of which, the release of Sunrise on the Suffer Bus, it prompted me to finally pick up a copy of the first album on vinyl. So I got the original pressing, a nice gold stamp promo copy of the first record from Masters of Reality, just after this one was delivered. So I'm definitely a much bigger fan of this band than I probably was before this reissue was out. So
yeah, it's one of those 90s gems that people don't
yeah,
talk about. And I got it on CD like years after it came out, like before the end of the 90s. And I remember my radio station locally here actually latched onto She Got Me When She Got Her Dress On. And I was like, man, this is a killer song.
yeah,
And I should have bought the record then. I didn't. But yeah, it's really cool record. It's good enough to where I say, even if you can't find it on vinyl, get it on CD because it's that good. You should own it.
yeah.
But yeah, it's like
Guys right there.
I think we should go with that opener because that's the song that's going to sell it. If people have never heard it, like, and that's the one. It just gets the blood going. It's got some of the best recorded drums probably in the history of rock and roll. I mean, Ginger sounds amazing. Like when the producers and the band had him in the studio, they were just like, okay, we need to make him sound as good as possible. They probably were paying him enough to where it's like, okay, let's make this one count.
Yeah.
So that's the feeling I get from it. But it's good they did because the drums really shine on it. But it's just a cool song anyway. It kind of has a punk rock blasters kind of feel to it. And they're from the what I call the Queens of the Stone Age family tree now.
Oh
Like
yeah,
Caius and all the So
that's the
like
one
if
thing
you're a Queens of the Stone Age guy, then this belongs in your collection as part of the family tree.
I've mentioned to some people when they ask, who is this band? Never heard of them. Which certain people, I was surprised they had never heard of them. And I said, yeah, it's sort of like the early beginnings of what you would hear with Queens of the Stone Age. Chris Goss produced like all of the Queens of the Stone Age records at this point, or at least a few of them. I know he
Sure.
produced the one with Dave Grohl, Songs
Yeah.
of Death.
Yeah.
But and the other thing interesting about She Got Me When She Got Her Dress On is that's their only song that ever made any kind of dent on any of the Billboard charts. It hit like one of those mainstream rock radio charts, but they've never had another song chart since. So I found that interesting too. But I'm going to throw something into the mix here. So we're going to play the David Gilmour track, Yes, I Have Ghosts. And we're going to follow that with She Got Me When She Got Her Dress On from the Masters of Reality natural vinyl edition of Sunrise on the Suffer Bus.
There's a double shot for you.
And, well, I'm going to throw a triple shot in because we're going to play something from the first Masters of Reality right afterwards. And,
nice.
And you can see here, you can see the stamp down there. It's a little faded. But
there you go.
Yeah, so I'm going to play something from this right here. Nice original Deaf American copy.
Natural black.
Natural all black. So I think we're going to play the single that I first heard from this band. So let's play Yes, I Have Ghosts, followed by She Got Me When She Got Her Dress On, followed by the Candy song. All right, we're back. That was David Gilmour with Yes, I Have Ghosts, followed by a double shot from Masters of Reality, She Got Me When She Got Her Dress On, from the natural vinyl pressing of Sunrise and the Suffer Bus, and the Candy song from their debut album from the original Deaf American vinyl press. So next up, I'm going to go into my pile here. Going back to the hard and heavy grab bag. And we've got fucking Motorhead.
There you go.
Motorhead with On
The
Parole.
On Parole, the first proper album.
Yep. This is the expanded and remastered 2 LP set of their original first record. The original release date for the first version of this was December 8th, 1979. It peaked at number 65 on the UK albums chart.
Did you say March 8th of 79?
December 8th, 1979.
Oh, December 8th. Okay. Oh, okay. Right on. Yeah. So I'm just slightly older than this actual album. So I was born in March of 79. So, but yeah, I remember buying, they put out like a CD reissue of this in a way, like in the States, as far as I know, back in the decade of the 2000s when I was still working at a CD store. And it was just called Motorhead.
Right.
And it had pretty much all these songs in here with a handful of bonus tracks that aren't on this release. Yeah, yeah, that's probably that one. I've got I wish I had to hear my CD stuff's in the other room, but I won't run around here. But it's I want to say it was like maybe like a Cleopatra or one of those kind of labels you would expect to have a bad issue out, but it was so cool because it was like a leather wallet
Oh,
kind of feel on the CD. It was a digipack, but it was like a leather wallet. It was really cool, and it came with a Motorhead sticker, and they threw in like I think a live version of Leaving Here on there, and I think a couple of more bonus tracks from that period. So also another quality CD issue, but it's really nice that On Parole has a proper. This has got to be its real first decent exposure in the States as far as a release goes, I would think. So
yeah. And in this one, I didn't notice any limited amount of copies, any statistics. So I'm assuming there's a lot of them out there. But
yeah, I'm seeing them still out and about. They're out there physically, so it's not as limited. If people missed out on it, then it's I would definitely say go ahead and start getting some now.
yeah,
Uh, the single is probably harder to get at this point. The 12-inch that came out at the same time,
yeah,
but yeah, I would say if you're any kind of Motorhead fan, you should get it. It's not. You could definitely make the argument that Overkill is their first real album as far as the sound you would come to know from them,
yeah.
but this is still worth getting as almost like an historical thing just on principle. It's not a bad album either. It's maybe just not what you're expecting. So
Yeah. I've had a vinyl version of their first record. That's similar to the CD that I just showed. So this would be the second variation that I have now on vinyl. As you know, I picked up the CD version too. So
yeah.
this one I've revisited a few times since first opening it. Kind of hard to choose a track from this one. So maybe I'll defer to you and see what you think and see if we line up here.
I'll go with the actually one of the covers on there, the Holland Dozier Holland cover of Leaving Here. That's always a favorite of mine.
Okay.
So can't go wrong with that song. It's a standard. That's one of those songs. If you were playing in the pubs in England back in those days, you had to know that song. That was like if you couldn't play that song, you couldn't play in a band. So
Well,
uh, that's a standard.
that is a great track on here. When I've listened to this a few times, there's one track that's always stuck out, and I didn't look to see, if there was a different vocalist. Maybe you could tell me here. But is there somebody else singing on Vibrator?
I think that God, I don't know his name. I think he might be the guitar player that just recently passed, the original guy.
That's a
So
that's a pretty kick-ass song.
that
Every
is
every
actually,
time I listen to it, I just I just this is a kick-ass rock and roll song here.
yeah, yeah.
And
Let's play that. Screw it. You convinced me.
but
Let's go with that one.
this is why I was, having this little conundrum in my brain. Like, what would I want to feature from this record?
No,
But
this will be a good indicator as how far away it gets from what is known as the traditional Motorhead sound in a way, because now you don't even have like Lemmy singing.
that's exactly why I was, iffy on that one because you don't have Lemmy singing on it.
Yeah,
But
but it's like the period right between the end of his Hawkwind period and right before Motorhead is basically what this sound is. He's still finding his sound, his own original thing.
yeah, that
So,
makes
it's like somewhere between Lost Johnny and the Motorhead song, you come up with this, and it's cool.
yeah. So, but with that said, we do have another Motorhead release, and I mean, obviously, this one, it's obvious that Lemmy is singing on it, so there's no question. And it's the Ace of Spades Christmas Edition 12-inch single, limited edition red vinyl. So the original release was sometime in 1980. I mean, pretty easy to assume it was released in November or December of 1980. This was limited to 2,500 copies. The original single peaked at number 15 on the UK singles chart.
Wow,
And,
that's
and
pretty high for UK. Like it's as famous as the song is now. I just can't imagine it was a big hit song then. But that's not bad.
yeah, and also it's certified gold with over 400,000 copies sold in the UK.
Wow.
Huge single for them. We haven't actually discussed the 40th anniversary of the album Ace of Spades. That's going to be coming up in a future episode. So that also made me wonder, do we play the title track or do we play something else? So if you want to play Dirty Love, let's play Dirty Love.
Yeah. And they could still go deep on the record later. So
okay, then that is the decision that has been made by this two-man jury here. So let's play Motorhead with Va 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 Vibrator from On Parole, expanded and remastered, followed by Dirty Love from the Ace of Spades Christmas edition, 12-inch single, and the B-side. All right, we're back. That was a double shot of Motorhead. First, starting with Vibrator from the On Parole expanded and remastered 2LP set, followed by Dirty Love, the B-side on the Ace of Spades Christmas edition, limited edition red vinyl 12-inch single.
yeah, speaking of Christmas, it's definitely Christmas if you are a big fan of the Ace of Spades record or just Motorhead in general, because it was, they just squeaking in at the end of the year in 2020. They put out the big, huge, epic Ace of Spades box set, and I've seen it in person, and it is massive. Like, it's like I really want to get it. It looks great, but even then, if that's too rich for your blood, they've got like really nice, like the regular deluxe of the vinyl reissue is really nice. It's kind of got a book spine to it, and it's just so it's like, man, I could totally get both of those. And you got a full live show on there, and there's just a ton of inserts in like the big box set. So it's like I wonder which one I'm going to go with by the end of the day, but I'll probably wind up getting the smaller one. But man, that big one looks real nice. So keep an eye out for that one.
All right. We did a little promo there for Motorhead and their recently released Ace of Spades 40th anniversary editions. So let's move on to my final pick in terms of the Record Store Day Black Friday 2020 special limited edition pressings. And this one was probably the top priority this time around because I don't own it on vinyl, and I've wanted to own it on vinyl for a long time. I've had it on CD for many years, originally had it on cassette, and it's this album right here, Tesla's second album, Great Radio Controversy. Really great record here. And this was originally released on February 1st, 1989. And this particular copy here is limited to 1,000 copies. And it is on, if you can see right here, it's on a translucent violet colored vinyl. It's got the original Geffen Records label on it.
It's gone. You can't find this anywhere at this point anymore.
And for the record,
it's like that Heartbreak Station one.
Yeah, well, I was going to say there have been some reissues lately that are pretty much from the same record label that's been putting out these new reissue editions with these Obies. I recently got the Heartbreak Station reissue on Coke Bottle Green vinyl and the red vinyl edition of Extreme's first record. Yeah. And this company is making excellent reissues. Whoever it is in particular, some of these records, it says vinyl is beautiful. This one, it doesn't say it on the Obi strip, but it looks like it's from the same company that's been putting it out. And I'm going to see if I could find it here. It's this A&R Studios, LMLR. There's two different names on here, so we'll just go with those. But as far as some original statistics here on the record, the peak chart position, it peaked at number 18 on the Billboard Top 200 Albums chart. And it was certified double platinum with over 2 million copies sold. And, it had some big singles for them at the time. Hang Tough peaked at number 34 on the mainstream rock charts. And Love Song hit 2 charts, mainstream rock tracks at number 7. And I don't know if this is their only, I don't think this is their only top 20, top 10 hit, but Love Song peaked at number 10 on the Billboard Hot 100.
Yeah. It
And
might be like I don't know how well Signs did as a single. I mean, it was huge on MTV, but
hey,
I'm not sure if it made top 10 on the
I
Hot
want to
100 or
say I
not.
want to say it cracked the top 20 at least.
Probably, yeah.
And the
But yeah,
final,
Love Song's still their biggest song for sure.
yeah,
Definitely their biggest original song.
yeah. The Way It Is, their final single from the record, peaked at number 13 on the mainstream rock charts and at number 55 on the Billboard Hot 100. So arguably their biggest record that they've ever
Oh,
produced.
yeah, it's absolutely their biggest record, no doubt about it. Like, and I grew up watching Dial MTV, and you couldn't escape Love Song for probably a good year or so. It wasn't like Home Sweet Home or Pour Some Sugar on Me huge, but it had its big few months in the sun for sure. Like, I mean, it was huge. And yeah, to the point where it's like, sometimes I still don't want to see any of those videos to this day. Like, this one's just getting to the point where I could probably watch it again. I never want to see 18 in Life again. And, like, oh my God.
Can I just talk about? I'm glad you brought up the video for Love Song because I'm going to bring up something that somebody out there that's watching and/or listening is going to go, "Yes, what the hell was the deal with that?" The video for Love Song. What was with those weird overdubs of like people in the crowd? Like
Oh,
if there's a guy like holding his arms up in the air, they overdub the voice going number one, and it's like it's so
yeah,
obvious it was an overdub.
yeah.
And the Verderame brothers and I, that was one thing that we picked up on as kids watching that video. We're just like, yeah, okay. Like that guy really just said that right now. Like it's not
Yeah.
totally a vocal overdub. So I just
That's
want to
how
bring that up.
that's how strong his love was. It did find a way onto that video.
Shout out to Craig Smith if you're watching and or listening, because maybe you thought that at one point. So yeah, like I said, this is a great pressing. I feel very guilty in a way that I actually own it, and so many people, weren't able to get it. Having said that, I hope those of you who weren't able to get it on Record Store Day will be able to get it, or they just reissue it again on another color and more on a bigger scale. So, did you pick this one up, Joey, or was it just me?
I did not. I am not let's just say I'm not a vinyl Tesla fan. I have a good amount of the CDs, but I'm not enough of a fan to go there with vinyl, or at least actively pay like new prices for them, I guess is how I should put it. So nothing wrong with it, nothing against them. I've even seen them live.
Mhm.
But yeah,
I mainly
just
just want the first three records, the ones they did with the first three they did with Geffen. So
sure. Oh yeah, easily. And 5 Minute Acoustical Jam is a really cool record. I just recently
yeah,
listened to it a few months ago, and it holds up.
yeah.
It's a cool performance.
So I mainly just want
So
those the first three on vinyl.
yeah,
So
and
um,
I think there's strong. There's even strong songs on freaking what's the one after all that?
Psychotic Supper,
Yeah, there's good songs on that.
great.
Song and Emotion. I
Don't
really like
Rock Me.
the ones that Z-Rock just wore out, but I still kind of like them, like What You Give and
Yeah,
Call It What You Want. Like I still like those songs.
yeah.
So
So
yeah,
I would anticipate that this label or some other label might pick up on those and give them some more reissues for Tesla.
yeah, they need
So
to stop doing this limited thing. Unless they're just gonna bring it right back and on black, then they got to knock it off with taking them right out of print, because I guess they're just trying to, pique the interest, like to get it to like a fever pitch,
mhm.
like anybody who missed out on Slave to the Grind. It's like I have to have this now.
Yeah,
Like, so just get a freaking blackout. Just do it. Just be done with it. Leave it in print.
yeah.
I mean, they're just leaving money on the table at this point.
I
So
agree. As much as I'm glad to get these limited pressings, some records like this, they should be more out there. Hey, it's Pete cutting in here solo as I realized while editing this discussion that Joey and I never got around to picking a track from Tesla, the Great Radio Controversy, before we moved on to further discussions. So I'm going to go ahead and pick the track here to represent Tesla, the Great Radio Controversy, and I'm going to choose track number 3, which was the first video that was released to promote the album. So here is Tesla with Heaven's Trail, No Way Out. Anything that's being reissued from 89, 90, those great years where, bands like Tesla and Skid Row were still, prominent and, big in the mainstream. I definitely think they deserve more of a wider, release than just these limited, 500 here, 1,000 here. Like, I was
Yeah.
surprised Slave to the Grind didn't get more of a bigger pressing,
Yeah.
first to debut at #1 for metal in the SoundScan era. You know,
hmm
I was just very surprised. But we don't know what Run Out Groove has in store with that one.
Yeah.
They may put out another one. So
Yeah, there'll probably be a black reissue with no bonus tracks on it, which I could see, something like that.
yeah, I think they reissued the Typo Negative Bloody Kisses on a smaller scale. It was still green, but they didn't have like all the bonus stuff on there. It was just, I think it was just the
Yeah.
record. I know both of us are going to discuss another particular record from a Record Store Day drop of the past, but why don't you get into your Black Friday Record Store Day 2020 picks that I did not purchase?
Oh yeah, I'll do it real quick. I got a handful of them here. This one right here, the first Ice-T record, Rhyme Pays.
Nice,
Got this on transparent yellow vinyl.
nice.
So, and this is the one that started it all with the National Treasure, Ice-T. So yeah, I'd recommend this one right here. Is kind of my art pick, my hipster pick, if you will. But when I first started working in CD stores around the peak of the new millennium, 99, 2000, this was like my kind of handshake with the rest of the kids and like the aging hipsters. This is Amy Mann's Bachelor #2. This is a great record if you're a fan of good quality American singer-songwriters, like, more mellow styles of Elvis Costello, little Harry Nilsson thrown in there. If you've never heard Amy Mann's Bachelor #2, and all these songs, well, let me try that again. So, by the way, just a great presentation here. I will open this one up. Full lyrics and full commentary, song by song, and a little essay inside. The vinyl's beautiful, as you can see here. And the cool thing about this is this was like kind of the peak of her as a solo artist and popularity, because she wound up doing all the songs for the Magnolia soundtrack. And the cool thing about that is those songs weren't on this record, even though it's got the same kind of feel to it. But the Magnolia songs are on this vinyl pressing as a bonus side. So this is like the perfect package for this like kind of little timepiece right here for her. Speaking of great females, this one right here, the late Sharon Jones, her cover album, just dropped in to see what condition my rendition was in. Yes, and she does cover that Kenny Rogers song on here, but of course, what condition my condition was in. Other covers, she does Fontella Bass's Rescue Me. She does Prince's Take Me With You. She does Janet Jackson's What Have You Done For Me Lately. And it's true to Sharon Jones' form, if you've heard anything on the Daptone Records label, it sounds like she did these originals. It sounds like, wait a second, are those cover songs that I've been hearing all this time? But the way they're recorded, it sounds like old Stax records. So when you hear her do the Janet Jackson song, you're like, wait a second, what's going on here? It's like, no, this is a cover, but it sounds like it existed long before you ever knew it. And that's like the true genius of that. So I think, let's see, what else do I got here for Record Store Day specifically? Oh yeah, this one right here. One of my favorite albums from the 2000s decade. Fountains of Wayne's Welcome Interstate Managers. This is a killer record. If you're a fan of power pop, this is a must own. I don't know if there's any out there still. I think people kind of gobbled them up. It's limited to 3,000. It's their most successful record, of course, because of Stacy's Mom, which is still a great song, of course. But by the way,
Wow, that's nice.
look at that bad boy. That's
Wow, that's
good
a
stuff
really
right
nice
there.
marble pressing.
Yeah, and it sounds really good too. It doesn't sound like they used digital tracks. It sounds like it's on tape, so I'm gonna go with that. But yeah, I love this record. Rest in peace, Adam Schlesinger. But yeah, get that record. Hopefully they'll put it back out in press right away, probably on black. But I'm glad I got it. I'm a fan. I deserve to have that on that color because I'm a big fan of that record. Those are it for me for Record Store Day. I got a few more randoms unless you want to get into some other stuff.
No, I mean, I have the one record left here that you and I picked up from Record Store Day drop #3. Well, in my case, after the fact, because we already have an episode completed. It's actually the prior episode to this. So if you want to get into that record now, we could do that.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. So as you very well know, I picked up the Rolling Stones Metamorphosis Rarities compilation after I seen your copy posted and wondered to myself, should I not have slept on this one? And you told me that I should buy it. So
Yeah.
there
If
were,
anything, if anything, just for the iron on. I mean, come on,
yeah.
how great is that?
And it's like I mentioned, kind of jokingly on my my post of the record. Certainly, the first piece of vinyl that I own that comes with its own iron-on for a T-shirt.
Yeah, that's great.
And shout out to our friend Ron Valdez from the Kiss Roundtable discussions and the Eddie Van Halen tribute. He designed a hype sticker.
That's awesome. That's a great hype sticker too. I saved it. It wouldn't peel off properly. So here you go, Ron. Look at this.
Yeah.
I had to use packing tape to go all over this this sleeve that I got for it here.
Sometimes
so
you gotta
it would stay
use
on
those
there.
household items, man. I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah, I clipped it out with scissors and I used packing tape to save this beautiful, gorgeous hype sticker.
That's
there you go,
dedicated.
Ron.
That is dedicated.
Love you, Ron.
So yeah, and just quickly, Ron has the great fortune of getting to do a lot of design work for ABKCO and various other labels. He gave me one of his extra copies of the Rock and Roll Circus edition that they just reissued. So
Ooh,
that's something that Ron and I want to open and discuss at some point. So that'll be
yeah.
coming up in the future. I have it back there. I haven't opened it yet. So
I'd love to see that. Yeah.
let's get into this rarities compilation. Like I said to you, I don't own a ton of Stones records. Most of my Stones vinyl is the greatest hits compilations that have been coming out these last few years for Record Store Day. And Ron Valdez actually worked on those. So my vinyl collection of Rolling Stones consists mostly of greatest hits compilations, and I have Tattoo You and my favorite Stones record, Sticky Fingers. So
Sure.
it was really nice to get something that didn't have, a whole bunch of the typical hits and, is a rarities compilation. But as I said to you outside of this discussion here, this really truly plays like a greatest hits collection that just happens to be a collection of rarities. So
yeah, it really does. And it's I think there's a lot of people out there who still doesn't even know that this title exists. Like it's just even it seems like even when they did the really awesome super audio hybrids on CD for these, like this one kind of just fell by the wayside, even though they put it out with everything else. Like it never gets any love. But yeah, it's worth having. Fan, non-fan, I think people will enjoy it either way. So I'm glad you got it. I'm glad you got something that's I think you'll wind up putting it on a lot more than you might have expected up front,
I agree. Just listening to it the few times I have already, and we haven't mentioned it, but this is on a 180 gram green colored vinyl. It looks like a forest green. It actually looks pretty much like the border.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. On the sticker,
So
it looks exactly like that, and
on that
yeah.
nice ABKCO label where it has that fade effect. And
Yeah.
I gotta say, because you know me when it comes to the center ring labels, it's ever since I was a kid, it's just one of those things that's always fascinated me and always was catchy to the eyes. But when I saw your copy and I saw that label, I was like, wow, that's a really cool looking record that I would like to see on my turntable. So having said all of this now, because there really wasn't anything on here that I really was not really a fan of. So you can almost play anything on here, but
yeah, I'd like to know I'd like to know what stuck out for you though on some of your initial listens here.
Try a Little Harder.
Ooh, yeah.
Out of Time. I like the last song a lot. I'm Going Down, but that was good.
Yeah, yeah.
Those are the ones that stick out the most at this moment. But there could be so many others right now. But if I'm looking, quickly, those are the ones that stood out for me. So I would defer to you on the best track to represent this one.
Yeah, let's go with I'm Going Down since it's the last song and it's the last song we're going to play today.
All right. So from the Rolling Stones, 180 gram green vinyl pressing of Metamorphosis from Record Store Day drop number 3, which took place, I think it was October 28th, 2020. Here is I'm Going Down to close out the show by the Rolling Stones. All right, that was the Rolling Stones with I'm Going Down from Metamorphosis, 180 gram green vinyl from Record Store Day Drop number 3. And before we go, Joey, I believe you have some more records that you want to feature.
Yeah, these come off like Record Store Day things, so I figured I'd talk about them. Plus, I just recently acquired them. Some of them are already out of print, which is ridiculous. Some of them are still very much in print, so I would say get these while you can, if you can. Another favorite from the 90s, this one right here, one of my favorite sophomore albums of all time, the Chinese album by Space Hog. And this is an MF. This is a great record. I think it's their best record, hands down. It's, like I said, not only one of the great sophomore albums ever, but I was so happy to get this on vinyl because it sounds like a 70s record. It even starts off with the little vinyl scratch needle going on the record. And the only thing that probably is the downgrade from putting it on vinyl is that on my original CD, it never stops. This thing doesn't have any pauses on it, no spaces or anything.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's separate tracked, but it just never stops. And that's the great thing about this. It even makes it sound like you turn the player on where needle goes roar into like the next song on one of the tracks. So this is a true vinyl record that finally got a vinyl issue of it. Limited to 1,000 on maroon vinyl. Get it if you see it out there. This one is widely available, but it's great. The Macedon medium rarities.
Nice.
It definitely comes off like a rarities collection because there's almost no structure, but it's a really fun listen for one of the great metal bands of the last 20 years. And I'm very critical about my new metal. It's even got the song they did for the Aqua Teen Hunger Force movie, which if you haven't heard or seen that track, it's one of the funniest things ever. And also on the other side of the spectrum, their cover of Metallica's Orion is on here. And their cover of The Flaming Lips, A Spoonful Weighs a Ton. So they're all over the place. Even has a Feist cover on here, by the way. So, and this one right here, another heralded 90s gem, Lenny Kravitz's Circus.
Wow.
This thing just came out last December, real quietly. And hopefully people will get hip to this record because
very underrated Lenny Kravitz record.
Yeah, maybe his best top to bottom, although Mama said
his darkest.
I mean, it's definitely his darkest. I mean, it's kind of like Fair Warning. The imagery kind of leans into it being perceived as dark, but it definitely has a lot of the trappings that he's fallen into post-divorce. Maybe getting into a little bit of chemicals. Who knows? But this is a great record, and the bonus tracks on here, besides the last one, are very quality. And here's my vinyl-versary 30 years ago this week.
Wow,
one of my favorites.
Final copy of that. Nice.
David Lee Roth, A Little Ain't Enough. It is a record club version, as you can see by that label, but the fact that I have it on vinyl with an original sleeve, which is rare for a record club also. So there you go. Yeah. So
now was that still the white Warner Brothers label at that point?
Let's see. Let's check.
See me with the label?
Oh yeah, it is.
There we go. Okay. Nice.
Yeah. Or I should just do it that way. So okay, yeah. But yeah, and it sounds good even though it's like a hour-long thing pretty much, So yeah, I had to pay a little bit for this a few years ago to finally get it on vinyl, but I'm glad I did. It's one of my favorite records of his. It's unheralded, and I think it's real good. And you got the twin guitar attack of the yin yang of Steve Hunter and of Jason Becker. So it's like this little, you got your blues rock and you got your shred rock, a little bit of everything. There's only 2 songs that might be conceived here that you might think is like filler or throwaway, but it's still a fun record. It's freaking Dave. So even on the filler track, there's going to be a couple of nuggets of wisdom for you. So
real quick before we begin to sign off, is A Little Ain't Enough? Do you agree with me that A Little Ain't Enough is better than Skyscraper?
Overall, I think it is. Yeah, they're completely different records though. Like Skyscraper is self-produced and very 80s. Little Ain't Enough is more classic rock sounding. Bob Rock, you could tell it's a Bob Rock production because it's got a big, huge sound. I like them for different reasons, but yeah, probably song for song.
Yeah,
Little Ain't Enough is probably just a little bit better. A little bit better.
But like I said, you said the Bob Rock thing. I lean a lot towards production versus, song quality sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Skyscraper compared to Little Ain't Enough, you're not going to beat the production of Bob Rock, with what Skyscraper had to offer. Because we
I mean,
know,
he was at his peak at that point. He was
yeah,
at his peak with his ears and his production value. So
yeah.
absolutely.
And we know that, Skyscraper was a pretty blatant attempt to push Roth further into this glossy mainstream era that was, prevalent at the time.
Sure.
And it's Billy Sheehan being like, I'm out of here.
Yeah. Sheenan says he's got a better mix of Skyscraper in his sock drawer. So.
I would love to hear that.
Yeah, I would too. But yeah, if you want to hear Bob Rock between Feel Good and the Black Album,
Yeah,
it's A Little Ain't Enough, and you should have it.
that is another interesting point there. So I think we should leave on that, and we should go into our outro here and give love to our fellow podcasts here at cnjradio.com.
I was going to say, you're going to play, Ooh, Black Friday. Da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, please tune in to cnjradio.com for more high comedy. It's free and reasonably priced, as always. So yeah, you hear Rock Strikes 10, which is my show. You're, of course, listening to I Am Vinyl, and you find that on CNJ Radio. Go check out all the episodes of that and of Rock Strikes 10, the flagship The Wrestling House Show, Talking Rock with myself and Mark Striegel. There's also The Last Theater with Chris, and the Synaptic Empire Audio Transmissions with Randy Brown, True Alternative. I'll give an extra plug. He has his best of 2020 shows out this week.
Nice.
If you haven't heard my best of 2020 6-parter, I think I can actually justify having 6 parts, maybe. But go check it out and let me know what you think.
All right, great. Well, as always, Joey, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, whether it's offline or in this realm here on Zoom for our podcast here at I Am Vinyl. And I thank everybody for tuning in to listen. And if you're watching here on YouTube or whichever platform you choose, and we just thank you for the last 2 years of listening, and we hope to bring you more in the future, maybe a little quicker. There was a little hiatus from beginning of December up until now, but we're going to try to get some more episodes out as soon as possible. So we thank you all for listening, and we will see you for our next episode.
Rock and roll.